So coined in the 1970s was the term metacognition by some dude named John Flavell. And basically what metacognition is, it's the ability to think about your thoughts, thinking about thinking, right? Sounds weird, but I'll explain it in a bit. I just want to say that it's the highest form of intelligence present on the planet and is something so easy to enact, but so hard to remember, right? Which is why only like a small percentage of people enact this, but yeah, higher than mathematicians, higher than quantitative reasoning. It is problem solving at the highest capability possible, which is using your own neural pathways and re-regulating them according to your situation. Sounds pretty intense, but it's actually a lot easier than you think. Again, just very hard to remember. So, picture this, right? You're at your desk, working your butt off. The first thing that happens is you get an instant feeling, right? It's this feeling, it's like, oh, whoa. It's like a jolt, right? And you get this negative thought, right? Man, I'm not good at this. And then it spirals to I'm not good enough, to this is why my ex-wife left me, to this, to that, to that, to that, to that. It could be whatever. But it's a spiral. And even though that feeling does objectively go away within a few minutes, it comes back later on the day, or maybe tomorrow, or maybe whatever, and then you spiral on it even more. So there's been no progression. Now, the person who is metacognitively operant will instead be like, oh, whoa, I feel this way. I feel anxious. You know, they'll feel something and be like, I feel sad. I feel genuinely like, if it's a very heavy emotion, it could be, they could even be honest with it. They could be like, I feel heartbroken. I feel very hurt. Or if it's something just bothersome or weird, they could just be like, I feel uncomfortable. They'll name the feeling, which is actually 50% of the work already done. Following that, they're going to start asking themselves questions. Why do I feel this way? What variable caused me to feel this way? What could it have been in my life that makes me feel this way? They may find that thing or not. And if they do or don't, they'll move forward and they'll be like, okay, well, is this something that I can control? Is this something within my power that I can do something about? If it is, they follow the course of action, they do something about it. If not, then they accept it as it is and they move forward, right? That's it. And it's that one skill that elevates people above everyone else, because I'll tell you what happens. The first thing that happens is you're increasing your dopamine and serotonin, right? So your motivation and your ability to regulate your own mood increases, which is what dopamine and serotonin are. Serotonin floods your system, which is lacking when you have something like depression, but it floods your system and tells you that, okay, you just controlled the situation. Like, one of the greatest feelings, honestly, anyone can feel. Because even if it can't be controlled, you technically controlled your own reaction to it, which is awesome. Second of all, it lowers cortisol. Because the problem is when you feel these emotions, what happens is your body kind of goes into this fight or flight response, right? Your body and your brain starts to perceive danger as if it's life-threatening, as if something's in front of you. That's why you might get, really queasy. That's why, appetite gets suppressed. That's why you might feel like shaky or you want to jump at something. That's why you start feeling this way. And so what people will typically do is they'll put on music and try to numb the feeling, or they'll do something to take their mind off of it, or the opposite, they'll spiral and overthink about it. But in reality, it's really more about just feeling what you feel, letting the emotion kind of be there so that way you can better understand it. Why do I feel this way? What is it that I feel? Name the feeling, tame the feeling, and then from there, you figure out why you feel that way, right? So it does so much. And typically what it is, it's that our bodies instantly, when we go through a really hard feeling and we feel an emotion, the first thing that happens is our brains will make it feel as if a life-threatening thing is in front of us. And most people actually think the brain is the sentient being that knows best. And so when they feel something, they'll be like, oh, this is real. You know what I mean? And they'll roll with that. But in reality, our brain is just like a muscle. It takes in information and reacts to things the way it takes information in. So if anything, you need to start questioning your own brain, right? And kind of reframing it. And this is literally how it's done. And so that's kind of going to reframe everything that comes your way. When you have a problem like this, you're able to tackle that emotion again. And so because you're tackling it, you're doing things like, let's say, you have a self-esteem problem that you can't figure out. You start questioning why, and you start kind of moving through it. And next thing you know, that self-esteem problem goes away. And finally, the coolest thing about metacognition is that it increases distress tolerance, right? So when you go through a really hard situation, the first thing that happens is you feel uncomfortable. And your entire success with metacognition is dependent on your ability to sit with that discomfort. So sitting there and being like, I feel this way, I know it's going to pass. You know what I mean? If you're able to do that, you've solved it. So let's just revise everything, right? Number one, feel what you feel and name the feeling. Number two, ask yourself questions on why you feel that feeling. And number three, follow the course of action based on the questions you've given yourself. Either you accept it if you can't control it, or if you can control it, you do something about it. That's it. And that is metacognition. And if everybody enacted on metacognition, dude, we would not have a single conflict in the world. We would be, our murder rates would be a lot lower. Our abilities to kind of reason different problems and conflicts would be solved instantly, right? You're going from the prefrontal cortex to the amygdala to the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, instead of just letting your entire brain go on overdrive for a simple emotion that you feel. So I highly encourage that everyone enacts on metacognition, because guess what? You're going to be operating at probably some of the most intelligent, you're going to be operating at a peak of human cognition. This is literally the smartest you can be. Enact it, do your best, and I hope it gives you amazing results, as it has me, as it has a lot of people. So take care.